was a piece of leather, and it had lead shot in it. And law enforcement officers used to carry it like 50 years ago, maybe 50 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. But I don't think anybody carries them anymore. They used to have a pocket sewn into their pants, and it was a strap of leather, thick leather. Usually had a piece that your hand, handle, and then something go around your fist so that it wouldn't come out of your hand. And then they would carry it, and then you could strike with it in self-defense if you had somebody who was fighting you and you didn't want to necessarily go to lethal force. Sorry, I dropped that. You don't want to go to lethal force right away. Then you could use this sap to defend yourself against a bad guy, somebody who's trying to hurt you. And so saps have been around for many years. Just anything like rocks in a sock, a lock in a sock, anything that you can pick up a handful of that's heavy that you can put in, maybe nickels, a roll of nickels or roll of quarters stuffed into a glove, and then people use that as a sap to strike and push somebody back, get them out of your face for self-defense. So I was at Home Depot last night, and I've been looking for these homemade improvised self-defense tools that you can carry with you that are not obvious. They're gray man, gray woman options. So in other words, something you can carry with you wherever you go, that if you needed to, you could pull it out of your pocket or pull it out of a bag that you might be carrying and use that to defend yourself. Assemble something or use something that you have on you that's not necessarily, it's not one of these, and it's not a blade, and it's not an expandable baton, but something that you could use to give you a little bit more advantage in self-defense, not to attack somebody, not to be an aggressor. And you have to watch, you have to be dangerous. Like if you carry brass knuckles, that's considered a weapon. That's considered you have the intent to go out and hurt somebody. That's why they're illegal most places you go. And if you have an actual sap, that's going to be illegal most places you go, because the sap is well identified with smashing someone's teeth down their throat for self-defense. But if you needed to feel safe in an environment where you aren't safe because you have to go there, I saw this great breakdown by the self-defense lawyer where he said, he was talking about groups of young teens attacking a person and whether you can defend yourself or not. And he said, of course you can always defend yourself, but legally you're going to have a really tough time in our modern environment when it's a group of 13 or 14 year olds, even if you're defending your life, your freedom, the life of your wife, your children, your grandchildren. You're going to have a hard time in court because of the age of the thugs, the punks who are coming after you, and he's I know he's right. I mean, that's just the sad reality. But his point was, don't go to those places. Don't go to the park where groups of thugs are coming around, hurting people, trying to take their money, pulling guns on you, pulling a knife, trying to beat you with their fists, their hands. Don't go to those places. But my challenge with that is that some of us have to go certain places. You have to ride the subway. You've got to go get groceries. You have to go get your medicines refilled. And so you might find yourself in a situation where you do need to defend yourself. You can't carry one of these, or you don't have one of these, or you don't think that's the right approach. You don't want to pull out your knife, and because like that guy who got jumped by the kids in the river, and it was pure self-defense, but he's sitting in jail probably the rest of his life and took a life that he didn't want to have to take. But so it's a really tough situation, and I'm not advocating violence, but I am advocating the right to self-defense. So I want to talk about this this idea of less than $5. You can create your own sap, and I'm using a couple of hex nuts. These are they're not stainless steel, they're not zinc plated. I think they might be zinc plated the way they're starting to fade, but you might know better than me. But they're heavy. They're heavy metal nuts. I think they're 3/8 of an inch. And this is just a shop rag. And I picked these up at the Home Depot. This is like $1.50, and this is like another $3 and change. So for less than $5, you can do this. Now I would recommend, and what I do is I make these monkey fists where I wrap them in cord, and then you can put your keys on it, and you can swing it for self-defense. And inside of those, I use an 1.25 inch ball bearing that is a lot heavier than these, and is more effective for self-defense. And I put a link in the description to a ball bearing and a handkerchief, because I think that this is nice, but you know, they're kind of thin. They don't last well. This might be a little bit better, this like microfiber cloth. These are the little cloth handkerchiefs I carry for the sweat, when I sweat all day long. And I just put this in my pocket. Something like this would work, although these are kind of small. But what you can do is you take, brass nuts or washers as well, Garen says. Excellent tip. So you can take this and you would just fold it into a triangle, and you can put your nuts inside your handkerchief first, or your ball bearing in there, and you just fold it into that triangle. It's kind of hard here in the car, but once you fold it here, you just kind of twist it, or you know, you can wrap it this way, twist it up, get it nice and tight, and then holding the ends here, you can then swing and slash and strike. And I know these will break teeth. I know this is going to smash glasses, and it's probably not a lethal. Maybe if you use the ball bearings, it would be a little bit more difficult, but this will give you a little bit more reach advantage, and it's going to be a force multiplier. So it's going to take what you have naturally, your striking power, and it's going to increase it. So this is the latest in our series of homemade, improvised self-defense tools that you can create, and you can put your handkerchief in one pocket and your nuts, hex nuts, in the other pocket, or your ball bearing, or in a bag. And then if you had to, if you found yourself, you know, in a dangerous situation, you could quickly pull them out, put them together, and then have something that no one's going to want to walk into as you swing it for self-defense. Would you follow the same principle as fighting with sticks? Keep the self-defense tool between you and the threat, and you know, what are you going to strike? What can you remove? His ability to see, breathe temporarily, permanently. Maybe you knock him out, hit him in the head, take away his operating system so he can't work his knife, his weapons against you. So those are the basic principles. Those come from Tim Larkin's book, When Violence is the Answer. I'll put that link in the description. But let me know what you think. Would you make your own SAP, your own self-defense tool, homemade, improvised, from Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace Hardware, Amazon, any do-it-yourself shop, whether it's just a handkerchief and some rocks, it's be even less than $5, or something like this. It's good to see you, Alita. Thank you for all the comments. I'll come back and read the comments. I just had a couple minutes. I wanted to make this because I found this last night. I had a couple minutes. I was in the Home Depot and I was looking around for what would be a good option if you had to pick something up quickly and you knew you were going into a dangerous part of town and you didn't have a choice. If you had a choice, you wouldn't go there, right? You avoid the places where you know, but you have to go get your medicine. You have to get food. Maybe you have to live there. You don't have the luxury of having enough money to go and live on the other side of town. And you have to defend yourself, your family, your kids, your grandkids, your life, your freedom, your dignity. How can you create things from household items that are not obvious, that a law enforcement person is going to stop you and say, why are you carrying brass knuckles? You're going to get in trouble for that. Why are you carrying a billy club or a telescopic baton and you're not allowed to have that? You know, if you're in certain areas, you're not allowed to even have pepper spray. And so what's the self-protection tool? Garen says self-protection tool is a great name for it. This self-protection tool, which is homemade, less than $5, it's just a couple of heavy nuts. Put a lock in there. I've got a brass lock in here that's even heavier than these. In my storage unit, I have all of the ball bearings. I'll get those out for the next one. I'll show you how to make your own monkey fist so that you have, this is kind of like a monkey fist, right? It's just something that gives you reach. And as you swing it, as you smash with it, you could also learn how to use it as a sling like David against Goliath and pick it up, throw it if you needed to. But yeah, Eleanor says simplified objects. So what simplified object could you use? Put it in the comment section. Would you consider carrying a handkerchief and some ball bearings, a lock and a sock, a homemade sap? And so I know some of you guys probably have a real sap, a real leather sap. Those are really cool. But again, those are illegal in some places and it'll be seen as a weapon. You can tell them you're a collector of police memorabilia, but if they catch it on you and you have it for the wrong reason, then you can get in trouble. If you have something like this, where disassembled, right, deconstructed, it's just some useful items. Hello, Binks. Binks is here from Nova Scotia. Small flashlight. JKS says small flashlight. I think someone took my flashlight. I keep one right here, JKS. But yeah, small hard flashlight. Yeah, bandanas, my favorite option. Instead of, I put a link in the description to bandanas that I like, that are a little bit tougher, a little bit more rugged. This feels like it's gonna kind of fall apart. So let me know what you think, and put it in the comment section. What else would you use in addition to bandana, rag, handkerchief, sock, locks? What goes inside? How would you use it? How could you train with it? And is it effective or not? And I'll see you guys.